Did you know that a single fire can paralyze the energy system of an entire country? On May 26, 2025, the Esmeraldas Refinery, the most important in Ecuador, suffered an accident that halted its operations for over 2 months. But this video isn't just about what happened, it's about what we can learn, prevent, and transform. Stay with me until the end because I'll share technical data, strategic decisions, and recommendations that could make a difference in your company, your community, or your profession. Because safety doesn't begin in manuals, it begins in awareness, technical context of the refinery asterisk. The Esmeraldas Refinery is the energy heart of Ecuador. It processes up to 110,000 barrels of domestic crude oil per day, converting it into gasoline, diesel, domestic gas, and asphalt. Its main units include atmospheric distillation crude 1 and 2, vacuum distillation vacuum 1 and 2, fluid catalytic cracking FCC, auxiliary systems such as boilers, electrical substations, and treatment plants. This facility doesn't just supply the country, it sustains its mobility, industry, and infrastructure. The May 26th accident, the fire began in the fuel oil storage tanks used for internal consumption. Flames spread rapidly, reaching a critical electrical 5 workers were affected by smoke inhalation. All personnel and nearby school children were evacuated. The refinery was completely shut down. There were no fatalities, but the damage was deep, both technical and economic. Identified technical damage. The fuel oil tanks were destroyed. The electrical substation powering critical systems was rendered inoperative. Units Crude 1, Vacuum 1, and FCC were dismantled or out of service. Thermal generation for boilers and furnaces was lost, disrupting the operational balance of the entire plant. The refinery didn't just shut down, it became technically fragmented. Economic and operational impact. Each day of downtime cost the country $1.4 million. 3.7 million barrels of crude went on. Ecuador had to import gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and domestic gas, driving up costs and straining the energy balance. Asphalt shortages halted public works in several municipalities. The impact wasn't just technical, it was social, economic, and political. Investigation and recovery. Petroecuador declared a 60-day emergency. Electrical loads were migrated to alternative substations. Recovery was gradual, with commissioning tests, startup, and stabilization by unit. From July through late August, the refinery resumed operations but with limitations. The investigation remains open, and the exact causes have yet to be confirmed. Probable causes and aggravating factors. The direct cause was the fire in the fuel oil tanks. An electrical failure suspected, possibly in auxiliary systems. A magnitude 6.1 earthquake in April weakened key structures. The lack of electrical redundancy and intelligent monitoring worsened the situation. The refinery operated with accumulated vulnerabilities that had not been addressed in time. Sometimes you don't learn from past mistakes. Magnitude 6.1 earthquake, April 25, 2025. At 6:44 a.m., an earthquake shook the epicenter, just 9 kilometers off the coast, triggered the emergency protocols at the refinery. Crude 1 and 2 furnaces crashed. The vis-breaking heat exchanger collapsed. Storage tank 1 shifted. Refractories fell. Lines clogged. Pipes burst. The FCC unit, which produces gasoline and LPG, was left without feed. Petroecuador declared a 60-day emergency. The National Distributors Chamber warned of supply shortages. Critical infrastructure revealed its vulnerability to nature, and the country, its dependence on energy. Trans-Ecuadorian pipeline systems built. March 13, 2025, a landslide in the El Vergio sector ruptured the pipeline. Over 25,000 barrels of crude spilled into 5 rivers, including the Esmeraldas. 500,000 people were left without potable water for 12 days. Mangroves in the estuary wildlife sanctuaries were contaminated. Wildlife died, crops were lost. Children fell ill. The smell of oil replaced the air. Petroecuador activated containment plans, but the damage was already flowing toward the sea. It was the worst spill in nearly 30 years, and it made clear that the country's energy infrastructure doesn't just transport oil. It can also carry tragedy. Post-repowering failures, 2013 to 2018. The repowering promised modernization. It cost $2.23 billion. But what was built was a hybrid refinery, new parts on old structures. Ecuadorian crude, heavier and high in sulfur, wasn't compatible with the original design. Units showed pressure leaks, valve failures, thermal overload. In 2023, an additional $26 million was spent on spare parts. The controller's office found 15 irregularities, unmaintained electrical systems, clogged hydrocarbon traps, missing safety showers, expired fire extinguishers. The refinery became an industrial Frankenstein, and the safety culture, an unfulfilled promise. FCC unit explosion, 2008. The FCC unit responsible for producing gasoline and LPG exploded due to a malfunctioning slide valve. 2 workers died from burns. 3 others were seriously injured. High-temperature air pressure eroded the distributor's metal. The regenerator grid collapsed. Flapper valves, which control catalyst flow, were deteriorated. The refractory showed 12 hotspots. Honeywell UOP issued over 50 recommendations. But the human damage was already done. The refinery kept operating, but for those who were there, the silence afterward was louder than the blast. Storage area fire 205. A short circuit in the lighting system ignited gasoline vapors in the storage area. 1 technician died from structural collapse. 2 others suffered second-degree burns. Smoke contaminated nearby neighborhoods. Florida, 15 de marzo, Codesa. Evacuation was chaotic. The emergency plan was slow to activate. The fire was controlled in 40 minutes, but the control booth lost communication. The outdated electrical system lacked automatic suppression. The tragedy was silenced, but the risk remained, waiting for its next opportunity. Lessons learned. This accident reminds us that prevention is not a luxury, it's a necessity. The lack of predictive maintenance, absence of backup systems, and weak emergency protocols expose the critical infrastructure. Industrial safety doesn't depend solely on equipment, depends on culture, leadership, and vision. What can we do to prevent this? Implement thermal sensors, SCADA systems, and intelligent automation. Design multi-scenario drills that include fires, earthquakes, and mass evacuation. Conduct external technical audits annually. Reinforce industrial access roads and infrastructure. Create crisis communication protocols that inform with transparency and speed. Prevention begins with bold, sustained decisions. Final reflection. The Esmeraldas Refinery is back online, but the country still feels the consequences. These accidents must not be forgotten. They must become living lesson stories that drive change. Prevention is not an expense, it's the legacy we leave for those who haven't arrived yet. If this story moved you, challenged your thinking, or sparked a sense of responsibility, don't let it end here. Subscribe for more real-world lessons that save lives. Like, share, and comment below with your thoughts or experiences. It costs you nothing, but it helps us tremendously to keep sharing stories that matter. Together, we can build a culture where safety isn't just a protocol, it's a commitment. Thanks for watching, and remember, every lesson counts.